This has to be one of the craziest heavy-duty watches that I've ever handled. This is and I know I'm not going to pronounce it correctly. Whatever. It's the Muhle Glashutte S.A.R, the Search and Rescue. This one's the full lume dial. There is also a black dial one, which I kind of like that one. It'd be a tough choice between the two. It really would be for me because they're both so good looking. In a ugly duckling kind of way, because it's not like it's a beautiful watch. I think we can all agree on that. It's not a beautiful watch. It is a very tough, excellent built watch, and we recognize that resonates with us, and that makes it like second kind of cool, where like it gets a pass. Like we don't need beauty in our tool watches. We need the specs. Well, this one has the specs. So big thanks to Nick at Exquisite Timepieces in Naples, Florida, and the whole crew down there, really. So I'm going to put a link down below so you can go directly to there. You can pick out which color you want. You can get it on bracelet. You can get it on this rubber strap. The bracelet is $24.99. The rubber strapped variant like this is $23.99. Now, I haven't handled one on bracelet as far as I can remember, but even that one has rubber down the center links there. So it is also extremely well built. The bracelet is. I don't know. Again, it'd be a tough call. I mean, I'd almost want the rubber strap and the bracelet, but I'm being told that the bracelet is pretty amazing. So for an extra $100, maybe go with the bracelet, I guess. This one's really cool, though, man. It smells like vanilla. So, yeah, it's made in Germany. It's crazy heavy-duty looking, and it can back that up. The case on this is 42.4 millimeter, but the case kind of like slopes out, so they call it a 42 millimeter. We're not going to be picky. It's a 42 millimeter, and it's probably the smallest wearing 42 millimeter watch I've ever tried on, and I'll show you that here in a moment. The lug to lug is basically 48.4. It's kind of like hooded lugs. It is still 20 mil underneath. They are 20 millimeter lug width, but it's hooded. The thickness, about 13.5 millimeter to this flat sapphire crystal. This sapphire crystal is 4 millimeter thick. They had to do that along with the overall case design to get this thing up to 100 bar. Isn't that 100 ATM? That's like 1,000 meter water depth rating. And it's technically not even a dive watch, right? Because there's no dive bezel. But it is a search and rescue watch, which was purpose built for that task. They needed it to be extremely tough, durable, and out of the way. That's why it's constructed the way it is. It's sleek, but it can take some impacts because of this rubber surround here, which I'll zoom in on, and then the bracelet or the strap. There's no snag points. It's very smooth. As you're trying to do search and rescue, there's going to be obstacles and everything. It's not like it's just going to be a big open water or whatever you're dealing with. There's going to be things to potentially snag things on, and this one tries to minimize that. The crown is a screw-down crown, obviously. It's 7 millimeter in its size, and it is at the 4 o'clock position, as is the date, with that date magnifier, which is applied on the bottom side of that already thick crystal. The weight, unsized, which I'm sure if you take a little bit of this rubber off, it's not going to change the weight very much, would be 150 gram for this. I'm sure the bracelet one's more. That's the way it is. This thing is so flexible and pliable. This thing is going to be a joy to wear. The movement inside is the Sellita SW200. Pretty sure they do a little bit of work to it, though, because it's, from what I'm understanding, these things are incredibly accurate. I think they, if I'm not mistaken, think they do something with the shock protection on it too, because Muhle Glashutte does a bunch of work. It's not like they just take a bog standard SW200 and throw it in there. They work it, and they actually create some parts, if my research recollection is accurate. Again, made in Germany. On the dial down there, this is a full lume dial, so you have a skeleton handset. It's going to be extremely visible. Check out that date magnifier. That is one of the best applications of the underside crystal mounted date magnifier I have also seen. It is very well done, super legible, even at some angles, which is traditionally a challenge with date magnifiers. This one still can get a decent view of the date at angles. So very interesting. But the case finishing on it, is just full blasted. It's just smooth. There's a look at that rubber top. It does have a little bit of a little bit of rubber feel to it, but it's not as hard rubber as I anticipated it to be. You can tell it's got a little bit of flex to it. So I'm sure that'll get nicked up and stuff like that, and I'm guessing you can have it replaced. But this watch, I'm sure, even a little beat up, if you could even get some marks on it, would still look really cool. I know some people that are pretty rough on their watches, and they've had the S.A.R, and they absolutely love it. It like holds up really good. It's just a beast of a watch. There's the side crown, if we can get it to zoom. And then here's a look at the case back. And check out the way the rubber strap is designed, where it flex. And it's secured on with a screw. Instead of a spring bar, it's screws. Which, again, you would expect, because if you hit a snag point with a spring bar, I don't know if you guys have ever done this. I've actually done it, where you catch, not on a bracelet, but on a strap, you catch something, it'll pull it to one side, and it'll actually pop that spring bar right out of the hole. It happens very easy and very quick. That is not going to happen with this watch. All right, let's put it on wrist. The strap is super long, so it would fit all the way up to probably a 9-inch wrist. I'm guessing. Don't quote me on that, but I'll see if I can get the close anyway. So there it is on. Now you can kind of see the design of it. I think because of the absence of a dive bezel, instead you just have that black ring, kind of shrinks it down. Legit, it wears more like maybe a 40. It feels more like a 40 millimeter case by 48, which the lug to lug is a 48. So that's accurate. But it definitely doesn't wear like a 42. The clasp system on this, it's all milled out, matching the case finish. There's no micro adjust, so you're going to want to get it sized in. I'm assuming on the bracelet there's micro adjust, but I could be wrong on that. Instead, what you have is you have a dive extension. Again, the intended purpose of this search and rescue, sure, they're going to put a wetsuit or a dry suit on potentially for the mission, depending on what it is. Very robust dive extension on this too, all milled out as well. But no micro adjust. So kind of a bummer there. Let's give this a quick blast and kill the lights and marvel in the full lume dial. I also like on the sapphire crystal description, because in Germany they describe it differently. Instead of saying sapphire crystal with anti-reflective coating, they condensed it down, and it's so simple. It just says non-reflective sapphire. Why are we calling it sapphire crystal with anti-reflective coating? Why don't we just call it non-reflective sapphire? It's so simple. All right, guys, enough rant. I'll see you on the next vid. Thanks again to Nick over at Exquisite. Check him out, link in the description.